Apple has stopped selling the iPhone SE back in September 2018, but in the past few weeks, it has spontaneously put the SE back up for sale on its clearance store for $249. Here's the thing though, the extra SEs sold out really quickly, like within days. So that got us thinking, why? Are people buying these because they are inexpensive for a new iPhone, or is it because they want that form factor? And more importantly, what is it like to use an iPhone SE in 2019? Before we get started, did you know that we have a podcast? Yes, we do. It's called the Apple Circle Podcast. Big surprise there. But we take a deep dive on new Apple topics every week. We'll link it down below in the description, and it's available in your favorite podcast app. So take a listen and let us know what you think. The iPhone SE was released way back in March of 2016. It was an unexpected hybrid between the old 5S body and the, at the time, new iPhone 6s internals. And it gave what a lot of people wanted, a smaller phone with upgraded specs. But now in 2019, there is no new small iPhone option. The smallest screen you can get is 5.8 inches, so the SE is still the most up-to-date version of a 4-inch screen. So I decided to use it for a few days as my main phone. I left my XS Max at home, which I was a little worried to do if I'm being totally honest, but the experience really surprised me. Okay, so what are we working with? On the inside, it has the Apple A9 processor with 2 GB of RAM and 16 GB of storage starting out. You can go higher than that. Those specs aren't very good in 2019, but it is running the latest version of iOS 12, and to Apple's credit, it runs phenomenally. When I first picked it up, I was convinced I would be waiting for things to load, there'd be crashes. I thought the reason I wouldn't like this phone is performance, but it just isn't. It's not as fast as the latest phones, obviously, but it is completely usable by pretty much any standard. So like I said, my main phone is an iPhone XS Max. It's huge, it's powerful, it has a big battery. For an iPhone, it is as good as it gets. So going back to such a small form factor did make me miss some things from my XS Max. I wish the screen was just a little bigger. Not because I want to see more necessarily, but because today's apps are formatted for bigger phones, so you'll have these weird overlaps sometimes. Everything still works, it just feels a little cramped. But I loved the actual size of the phone. The feel in the hand and in the pocket is just so nice. It feels like a toy phone, honestly, but it gives you a more secure hold on it. It's lightweight. I'm not sure if this is just me being nostalgic for the days of this size of phone, but man, I missed it. I did notice though how much better the camera has gotten over the years. And while it's still okay on the SE, there is a noticeable difference. The dynamic range is not nearly as good. Low light suffers, and I miss the addition of a second camera. Those are things I wish I had. And that's kind of the story for all the issues I had. I missed the newer features like Face ID, 3D Touch, and dual speakers, but only because I'm used to those new features. If I was coming from an iPhone 5S or a 6 or 6S, I think this would still be a great daily driver, especially since the SE still has features that you might want, like a headphone jack. Even in 2019, the SE all around is solid. It performs well, it has a different form factor which you might like, it still gets updates, everything it does is still totally passable and usable day to day. It costs $250 new, but it still feels like a $400 phone in use, and it's not what I was expecting at all.